The national media is joking, saying Jim Harbaugh did die. You don't get it. It's not for you to get, and that's why you're there and they're there and they're where they are. So again, the people who are telling the Harbaugh jokes about him, and the cheating and it, man, those kids are locked in a way that I go blue. Okay. Greetings and salutations. News breaks fast here on the Odd Coaches Podcast. And welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. And on this Throwdown Thursday edition, I am so happy to have my favorite administrator and current Texas resident, Robert Abney, with me. Robert, how are you? Because we're going to talk some Texas things going on, sir.
Man, I am living the dream. And it's too bad that this doesn't air until Thursday, because otherwise this would be breaking news that we'd be coming with here.
All right. So in segment one, we're going to go around the territories, and let's just say we're going to stick a little longer in the SEC. In segment two, we're going to talk Michigan football the way it needs to be talked about from the administrative standpoint. And in segment three, we'll talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And Robert, I was not entertained this week. But first, let's go around the territories. Starting with the ACC. Okay. Florida State survives and advances to another week of relevancy, and they end the season with two games, North Alabama and Florida. You better not lose that Florida game. You better not, okay? Louisville might be in the top 10, go figure, and they end the season with Miami and Kentucky. Here's the thing with Kentucky. They're a middle-of-the-road SEC team, and Louisville is a top 2 ACC team. And historically speaking, a middle-of-the-road SEC team has beat the top ACC team. There's just too much inconsistent play in the ACC. So let's see what happens. And the only two teams you got to follow, Florida State and Louisville. Any thoughts on the ACC, sir?
Nope. That North Carolina Duke game looked like a pretty good game. I didn't see any of it, but went to overtime. North Carolina hung on, but they're not one of the top 2 teams. So
yeah. All right, we're going to move to the American. Tulane is 9-1, but they're not peaking right now, and they've got 2 games left against Florida Atlantic and UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio, and they're good. And I just need them to win one more, but that's strictly for entertainment purposes only. Memphis got a scare from Charlotte. They've got SMU and Temple left. SMU is actually rolling, and they should be ranked by the time this comes out. And they have Memphis and Navy. So if SMU is in that championship game, and then UTSA has South Florida and Tulane. So any of these 4 teams can win the conference. Big 12. The Big 12 is a mediocre conference, Robert. Yes, Texas looked pedestrian, and they have Iowa State and Texas Tech left, and I just need them to win one of 2 strictly for entertainment purposes only. Oklahoma State got shellacked by UCF, and Kansas lost 2. Now, you'll find out why that made me extra salty in segment 3. But real talk, you've got this big win against Oklahoma, and that should take you to a higher level bowl, and then you get waxed by UCF. Same thing with Kansas. You get these big wins, and then you can't do anything with them. And Texas and Oklahoma are going to have problems in the SEC. Meanwhile, Colorado, Arizona State, and Utah are coming to the Big 12, and they're better than what you already have, so they're going to compete right away. Texas and Oklahoma, still the top 2 teams, I'm guessing. Anything with the Big 12, sir?
The only thing I'll say is, yes, the conference is mediocre. You can only play the schedule that's put in front of you. Texas does definitely look pedestrian, and they survived and advanced.
Yes.
So as long as you keep winning, it can be as ugly as you want it to be. But if you keep winning, you're in the conversation.
Yes. And that Alabama win's going to help you way long if you can get to that, and if you can win that championship.
Yep.
Okay, fans, we're going to pause at the Big Ten. I got to get this out of the way, Robert, and thank you for letting me get this off my chest. One, Penn State is a good football program. It's not a great football program. It's a good football program. Penn State is the third best team in the second best conference in the country. So they're fifth or sixth if we were just stacking this up. Okay. When the playoffs expand, and they're going to expand, they're going to be in the postseason mix every year. Every year. So Penn State fans, shut up. Because what do you want? Okay. And at the end of this segment, we're going to talk about a school who thought they were something that they weren't, and they're going to cost themselves a lot of money. Now, with that said, go blue. And we'll talk about Michigan in great detail in segment 2, but the national media doesn't get it. I've been the assistant coach who the head coach has trusted in his absence, whose players perform for them, and that's why that passion's real when Michigan loses their head coach. The national media is joking, saying Jim Harbaugh did die. You don't get it. It's not for you to get. And that's why you're there and they're there and they're where they are. So again, the people who are telling the Harbaugh jokes about him, and the cheating and it, man, those kids are locked in a way that I go blue. Okay. I hate Iowa, but damn, their defense is good. And damn, their defense is good, Robert. And every week they tip me to take the under, and I need to pay attention. Northwestern's 5-5, and that tells you everything about the top-heavy conference. And USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington, they're going to be able to compete right away because it's a top-heavy conference. Any thoughts about the Big Ten this week, sir?
No. Let's if Penn State was ever going to beat Michigan, yesterday was the day. And it wasn't their day.
Wasn't their day.
Which tells you all you need to know about those two programs.
Oh, man. All right. HBCUs. There's a three-way tie for first in the MEAC between Howard with the big win over North Carolina Central and Morgan State. So should be fun closing out. And in the SWAC, FAMU is on top in the SWAC East with a 7-0 record. And Alcorn State is on top of the SWAC West with a 5-1 conference record. Celebration Bowl takes place Saturday, December 16th. Okay. So now we're going to quickly move through the group of 5. Conference USA, Liberty is 10-0. They got UMass and UTEP to close out. I think they got a shot to be undefeated. And Robert, New Mexico State has won 6 straight games. They have Auburn next week and then Jacksonville State. And Jacksonville State has Louisiana Tech and New Mexico State. So they're setting up for the Conference USA Championship. Good call on New Mexico State.
I may be wrong. But I'm pretty sure I'm not. This is the first time New Mexico State has ever won 8 games.
I don't think we're going to do the research to find out. So let's go ahead and say, sure, you're right. Okay. A little bit of action. And I'm sorry we come out on Thursday, but Toledo is playing Bowling Green, and that's going to be a good one. And I'm going to root for Toledo for all the wrong reasons, strictly for entertainment purposes only. And the title game is December 2nd. So next week, we're going to start talking about title games. The Mountain West Conference. Robert, Air Force has lost 2 straight. They stink now. We're done with them. UNLV has won 2 straight, and they close out with Air Force and San Jose State. And there's a lot of 2-loss teams lurking. This is going to go down to the wire. Sun Belt. James Madison is 10-0. They got App State and Coastal Carolina as their last 2 games, and both teams are good. And both teams can beat them. Both teams can beat them. But if they go 12-0 and they just got to sit home after that, there's something wrong. Okay, there's something wrong. So I'm rooting for them. Troy is the best team in the West. This has been a very good conference this year. And when those bowl bids come out, those games come out, pay attention to the Sun Belt Conference playing your favorite named school.
So, Jet, remember James Madison this week, they did file an appeal with the NCAA to be immediately eligible for bowl play. My suspicion is that the NCAA will issue a ruling on that sometime in February.
Stop that. This one's we're pitching underhand on this one. This is something you can just do. You can just knock this out of the way. All right. Independence. Notre Dame was off this week. They closed out with Wake and Stanford. I need them to win both games. We'll talk about that segment 3. And Army won again this week. What are y'all doing? Yeah, now you want to win games. Okay. All right. Pac-12. For all the early season hubbub, this is still a mediocre conference, and we told you. Yeah. You're still not very good. Real talk about Colorado. They're losing games by 1 and 2 possessions against good teams. Big 12's in trouble when they come. Washington's not elite. Their signature win Oregon is against Oregon, and they got a weak non-conference schedule, and they close with Oregon State and Washington State. Oregon's playing very well right now, and they've got Arizona State and Oregon State. And if they play Washington in Pac-12 championship, that's not going to look good for Washington. Arizona is quietly one of the hottest teams in the country, so we will see how that closes. Anything about Pac-12 before we close with real football?
Just that USC, the potential national championship contender at the beginning of the season, believe that was their 4th loss.
Yeah. Hey, Lincoln, how you doing, buddy?
Oregon took it to them. Wouldn't shock me at all if Lincoln goes and finds him an NFL job, because that's what happens with these hot offensive coaches. But
it might be a job open in Texas.
Yeah, it might be. Can't anybody here play defense? That's what it is at SC. That's got to figure that out.
All right. SEC. Yes, real people football. Okay. One, fans. Boring wins more than it loses. Consistency is such a key to winning championships. Georgia is a great team. Brock is back. They beat the number 9 team in the country 52-17. And you keep telling me Ohio State is the number 1 team in the country. Stop. We keep telling you to stop it. Okay. So next week they're going to play Tennessee. Then they're going to beat Georgia Tech. And then they're going to beat Alabama in the SEC championship game. And they're about to go 3-0. And they'll be number 1. They might be number 1 by the time this thing airs. Because again, our coaches are telling you the truth. I don't know what you're listening to, but you need to listen to us. Next thing is Alabama is better than you. Hey, they're better than you. Okay. And they've got UTC, University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, and I think they just go by Chattanooga now, Auburn, and Georgia in the championship game. Our backups are better than your starters. If you put these teams in other conferences, they're going to win. Missouri's going to win. Tennessee, Kentucky, and that's why we brought that up with the ACC. You better not lose to them, you Louisville. I hope you impress when you play that game. Ole Miss, LSU, Texas A&M, and we'll talk about them shortly, and Auburn are all bowl eligible. And even Florida, as bad as they played this year, have 5 wins. Their next win makes them bowl eligible. What's that, like 9 teams that are bowl eligible? That means they're beating somebody. That means they're beating you. Okay. Now, Robert, it happened. I didn't think it was going to happen. I don't know if you thought it was going to happen, but ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Texas A&M is really rich, and they are giving Jimbo Fisher the boot, and they're giving him all of his money. Let me set this up for you. Jimbo Fisher is owed $76 million upon his firing, and Texas A&M plans to honor his contract in full. Yeah, I'm not working for like 5 years. I don't want a job. I'm good. Jimbo Fisher is 45-26 in 6 seasons at Texas A&M, and he just signed a new 10-year, $95 million guaranteed contract in 2021, and that deal was given in part because he might have gone to LSU. What makes me laugh is that Kevin Summerlin, who was the previous coach, was 51-26 over the same period of time. Since winning the Orange Bowl and finishing number 4 in the AP poll in 2020, Texas A&M has gone 19-15 and have not won the SEC West or played in the college football playoff during Jimbo Fisher's time. He arrived in 2018 from Florida State, where they won a national championship in 2013. Robert, you are residing in Texas. What are your initial thoughts on the Jimbo Fisher firing.
Well, the natives have been restless. So Texas Tech and Texas have more money than God. I mean, they have money to spend, and when the alums ain't happy and they want a new coach, they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. So
who's Texas A&M going to get? Who would you go after if you could?
I don't know. Well, I don't know where that money's coming from, but figure that out. They got it somewhere. They'll pull the cushions out the couch or something. I don't know. Well, and that's really the question. Who are you gonna get? I mean,
and what are you gonna pay him? If you paid that dude $95 million, what are you gonna pay the next guy? What are you gonna pay him?
Yeah, and what are you gonna pay him? And then you're looking at it. It's gonna be 5 years. Let's say, just for the sake of argument, 6 years, $75 million. So that would mean over the next 7 years or so, you've committed $150 million to 2 football coaches, one of whom no longer works for you. That's insane. That is absolutely insane, which is an accurate description of many Longhorn and Texas Aggie fans. So there you go.
All right. So fans, with that, when we come back in segment 2, well, it happened. And we're going to talk about Michigan. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student-athletes. As student-athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student-athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment 2, we're going to focus on the Michigan situation from the standpoint of coach, administrator, athletic department, etc. So, big news. The Big Ten suspended Jim Harbaugh from coaching in their team's final 3 games, starting with the Penn State game from last week. In the announcement, which was dropped on a Friday on a federal holiday, and we'll talk about the optics of that, Tony Petitti, after 23 days of investigation, said he had enough credible information that the Wolverines were involved in a sign-stealing scheme with Connor Stallion. So what happened? In a 13-page letter sent to Michigan Athletic Director Wardell Manuel, Petitti wrote that the Big Ten believed Michigan, quote, violated the sportsmanship policy because a university football staff member engaged in organized, extensive, year-long, in-person, advanced scouting scheme that was impermissible. Because the Big Ten believes Michigan completed violations this season, it's appropriate to punish them now. Okay? As a social studies person, I always want to know, what did the boss know and when did he know it? Apparently, based on their information, Harbaugh had no idea of the scheme. And as Will Cotton would tell you every week, Coach, you don't know everything we did, and you tried to know. But with that said, what evidence did they have? Here's the evidence, Robert. A large and detailed chart that included the names of various people assigned to past and future football games involving Michigan opponents. Assignments for individuals to attend past and future games involving highly ranked non-Big Ten programs, notes about whether attendance would be necessary at games based on various win-loss scenarios, the 2023 schedules of Michigan football opponents, color coding to reflect past games attendance by individuals and future games in which scouting would be needed, the names of people assigned to cities in certain areas of the country, monetary costs for scouting these games. Additionally, there was a separate worksheet within the master sheet that showed narrative translation of signs and signals that corresponded for specific team formations and plays. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey informed the Big Ten that Connor Stallions had purchased tickets to the SEC championship game in Atlanta. The Big Ten also reviewed photos and videos that says it shows staff members standing on sidelines adjacent to other Michigan coaches. The history of the Big Ten in terms of punishment, the Big Ten has imposed discipline under their sportsmanship policy, including suspensions for both coaches and players. Last year, you remember during basketball season that Juwan Howard was suspended for 5 games and fined $40,000 for hitting Wisconsin's assistant during a game. The league also fined Wisconsin Badgers coach $10,000. Both fell under the sportsmanship policy. Before I go on my rant, sir, and I do have a rant, what are your thoughts on any direction you want to take this whole situation?
Based on what you just said, I mean, one of the questions I have, and I'm not sure if this got answered anywhere, but he's got the monetary costs of this scheme all laid out. It's not clear to me who was paying for all that. That would be one question I have. That seems important. Mm-hmm. Who was paying for that? That seems like that might matter. One thing that really got my attention is that they decided to do this on Friday afternoon at like 4:00. Friday was an observed federal holiday for Veterans Day. So all the courts are closed. And they knew that, or certainly had to know that as soon as something like that happened, Michigan was going to file for an injunction. They knew. Mm-hmm. And they did it anyway on a Friday afternoon. And, so Michigan had to figure that out. And my understanding was they did get a court hearing on
sometime this coming week.
Yeah. I mean, they tried to get a temporary injunction on Saturday and it didn't work for whatever reason. I don't know. But, it would have been, well, the Big Ten. I think they stepped in it, and I think that they are making decisions that may not. I think that's going to come back and bite them. I really do. Now, what does that mean in terms of? What does Michigan get out of it other than Harbaugh gets to coach? I mean, probably nothing. They didn't lose the game.
I know. And they played quite well, actually.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about, Michigan is locked in, because if they weren't, that they could have fallen apart very easily, but they came out and they played well. So yeah. I don't know, man. There's a lot here. I'm interested to hear what you have to say, because I know you've been thinking on this.
All right, so Robert, my main concern as an administrator, the Big Ten chose to act amid an ongoing NCAA investigation for potential NCAA violations. The Big Ten said in an October 19th statement, their statement, it suggested that it would let the NCAA's drawn-out process unfold, saying that the league will, quote, continue to monitor the investigation. It was only after additional information emerged that they did something. So right there, I'm watching what you're doing. That's all I'm doing is watching what you do. And what you do has been already inconsistent. And as an administrator, the one thing you want is consistency, in my opinion, as somebody with a terminal degree in this piece.
You want to be predictable. If something happens, you want to know with me, okay, if this happens, this is what he's going to do. That's what
Yes.
you want, predictability. I hear you.
So my optics is this, as you said, it was a Friday news dump. You impose discipline on Veterans Day when state and federal holidays and courts are not open, and that's an optics thing. You may not have cared, you may not have even paid attention, but other people are, and you gave the perception that there's something there beyond just discipline. The NCAA also plays some role in this piece because the NCAA has yet to send Michigan a notice of allegations, but Petitti's letter showed that the NCAA is making headway. So, in other words, there's the optics of potential collusion. Why is it that historically speaking, the NCAA doesn't share information, but now they're sharing information? It is rare and outside the NCAA's typical protocols to discuss active investigation. It's active. And even we as administrators saying we will reserve comment until the investigation is completed. Not only have you not reserved comment, but you've already taken action. And finally, for me, if it's so bad, why does it only apply to the regular season? And if Michigan qualifies for the Big Ten championship, he's allowed to coach in Indianapolis. Harbaugh will also be allowed to coach Michigan in the college football playoff or any other bowl game. So, any thoughts, Robert, on that before we close out this segment?
Go blue.
Go blue. So, look, folks, those players were locked in like no other team I've seen in quite some time, and we're very quick to critique. Say what you want about Harbaugh, say what you want about the cheating, say what you want about the scandal. They love their coach. They love their school. Their president is standing front and center with them. Maryland is their next game, and it's a trap game. And then it's Ohio State at Michigan on November 25th at high noon. And man, I can't wait. So with that, when we get back on the iCoaches podcast in segment 3, we're going to talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And again, I wasn't entertained. We'll be right back on the iCoaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the iCoaches podcast. In segment 3, it's top 5 time, and I'm telling you every week ours is right and the panel's is wrong. Georgia's number 1. We've told you Georgia's number 1 all year. Eventually, they'll smarten up and fly right, but we'll wait. For me, Robert, Michigan's number 2. And here's what I keep hearing on the news. Well, Michigan's strength of schedule, this, that, and the other. Doug, Michigan's second best team. They ran all over your top 10 team, yours. They didn't throw the ball, and they won and won comfortably. Yeah, I'm good. They're 2. Florida State's 3 by default because nobody else is really doing anything. And Michigan and Ohio State will take care of each other. And James Madison's 5. Okay, wonderful. Washington is on the outside looking in. Liberty is on the outside looking in, and they got a chance to be undefeated. Texas, Oregon, and Alabama And our focus all year has been on the top 5 in terms of the playoffs and major bowl games. Anything you would add, change, delete? What do you think, Rob?
Nope. I mean, that's what it's been the past few weeks. And like you said, Ohio State, Michigan, that will take care of itself.
Yeah, I'm going to have some. I think I actually will be driving home, so I don't know how I'm going to see that game, but we'll check that out.
So,
All right.
I still think that all things being equal, Georgia wins out, Florida State wins out. The winner of that game, the winner of that game will be number 2. The loser of that game will be number 4.
Okay.
That's what I still think that.
Okay. My season-long bets and fans, here's why we do season-long bets. This is my bowl money. This is my postseason championship game money. So it's an elaborate process, but it hasn't worked out very well for me. So Clemson's done. Bless their hearts. I'm just reminding you that I did pick Clemson. I'm not running from it. Tulane, I have them over 9. They're at 9-1. And that's they're gonna the next win. They got 2 shots to get 1. Let's go to the pay window. Maryland's over 7.5. They're 6-4 now. They go undefeated the next 2 games. Michigan and Rutgers. I get it. It's not gonna happen. All right, Texas is over 9.5. Texas is at 9-1. They have Iowa State and Texas Tech. I just need you to win 1. I don't particularly care. Troy over 8. They are 8-2, and they have Louisiana and Southern Miss. So again, I think I'm going to go to the pay window. Notre Dame is over 8.5. They're 7-3. Robert, they have to beat Wake and they have to beat Stanford. I think both of them are doable. That makes them 9-3, and some nice bowl is going to call Notre Dame. Come on, go Irish. Okay. Utah is over 8.5. They're 7-3, and they have Arizona and Colorado left. Can they go 2-0 and get me to the pay window? What do you think on that one, Robert?
Arizona is very
hot
good
right now.
They got to beat Arizona because I think they'll beat Colorado. They got to beat Arizona.
Okay. And then Tennessee is over 9. They're 7-3. They have to go undefeated the last 2 games, and it's Georgia and Vanderbilt. So I lost on that one. Okay. Last week I was 2-3. This week, for the 3rd time this season, Robert, I was 0-5. But I'm mad because I shouldn't have been 0-5 this week. So for the spread, I had Oklahoma State -2.5 against UCF. They lost 45-3, and Oklahoma State was the 15th ranked team in the country, -2.5. So yeah, there was going to be a letdown, but not a 45-3 letdown. 45-3. All right, the over/under. I had Boston College and Virginia Tech under 49. BC was supposed to slow the pace down. Virginia Tech scored 48 by themselves. Y'all trying to get in the bowl games and nobody wants to play defense. So then he'll go ahead.
Weekly over/under check. The number on Rutgers, Iowa mid-game was 27.5.
I know.
And you still didn't take it.
I was on the road, man. I was on the road.
Because it was 22. It was Iowa 22, Rutgers 0. 22. Take the under, man. Although at some point, what's going to happen with Iowa is the under is going to get to like 19.
I don't, man. I might have to roll that the rest of the year. All right. So Georgia on my 2-play, I had Georgia -10.5. They took care of business, and I had Penn State +4.5. I knew Michigan was going to win, but here's the beef with that. Penn State had a chance to kick an extra point, and they went for 2 when they didn't have to. It was all over after that. So if they go down, and now they're down, 8, and they score their touchdown, and they missed the 2-point conversion, now we're in the 4.5. But I thought that was mismanagement on clock. I thought that just was a bad move because you didn't have to do it.
The more I watch, the more and more convinced I am that, until the fourth quarter, if you have a chance to put points on the board, you take it. Kick the field goal, kick the extra point, take points. In the fourth quarter, then you start worrying about, do we need to go, then you start looking at the chart. Do we need to go for 2? What do we need to do? Until then, put points on the board.
This is crazy.
It's boring.
Yes. We're just trying to score one more than the other team. That's it. No style, no substance. Just all right. So my 3 play. I'm mad, Robert. I had Alabama. I had Arizona, one of the hottest teams in the country. And I had Kansas. Kansas lost to Texas Tech. Kansas played 4 straight weeks of solid football. And let's just say Texas Tech has it. And you lost to them? That's why the Big 12 is mediocre. Because you just can't beat people that you're supposed to beat. And in my upset, I'm never mad at the upset, but I've been paying attention to Rutgers, and I didn't have them getting shut out. I thought the Ohio State game kind of gave them a little confidence to go into Ames, Iowa, and give them a fight. Go fight, like Bill Watts said. Let's hook them up. Old Mid-South wrestling. Nope. They got beat up and get out of here. See you later. So Iowa, respect to you, but the commentators was talking about their offense and Brian Ferentz. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Don't say he called a great game. Don't just go and take the win. Keep on moving. So anyway, week 12 notable games, and we have a lot for me, strictly for entertainment purposes only. We got Georgia, Tennessee. Georgia, just go ahead and handle your business. I ain't mad. Michigan's coming to town to play Maryland. No, I'm not going to the game. I'll be at an SGA leadership conference. Rutgers is playing Penn State. Let's see if there's a hangover there. Kansas State's playing Kansas, so disappointing against more disappointing. Utah against Arizona, trying to get to the pay window. Cal Stanford for all the wrong reasons. The band is on the field. UCLA against USC, both teams coming off a loss. Can you imagine that? Louisville versus Miami. Can Louisville win when they're supposed to win? UNC going to Clemson. Can they finish off the season? UNLV against Air Force. Can UNLV keep going? Washington against Oregon State. So the kid DJ at Oregon State was supposed to be Clemson's quarterback, and they didn't like him. So they got this other guy who's not winning games. DJ has a chance to get the biggest win of the season in the Pac-12. I'll be paying attention to that game. And then Texas against Iowa State, again, strictly for entertainment purposes only. Any game next week you're looking forward to, Rob?
It's not a great weekend. You got a couple rivalry games there. I mean, Cal and Stanford is the big game. They're both terrible, but
Terrible.
UCLA and USC will at least be pretty to watch because they both wear their home uniforms and they both have really nice home uniforms. So it'll be pretty.
Is that where we are?
Washington, Oregon State is probably the best game of the weekend. Sadly and unfortunately, it's going to be played in the Pacific time zone, which means that it'll start at 9:30 here in Central Texas. So I might watch the first half.
Yes. Okay. All right. Closing thoughts, fans. 1, Thanksgiving's next week. I'm driving to Florida, so I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving next week. Okay. So we will have a fresh episode come out on Thanksgiving. Conference championships are December 1st and 2nd, so we'll be talking a lot about conference championships. Bowl matchups will be revealed Sunday, December 3rd, following the regular season and conference championship games. I've worked all year, fans, to get into a position where I can profit off this show. Okay, strictly for entertainment purposes only. So let's just keep having fun out there, and hopefully next week I can have a little bit more fun than I did this week. But I did not have any fun this week, and wife's laughing, so nobody's mad. Okay, and I'm tired of Robert's text about Iowa and the under. I just might have to go ahead and take the under on Iowa. So, on behalf of our favorite administrator, Robert Abney, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the iCoaches podcast. And we will see you on the sideline. Till next time, take care.
The iCoaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student athlete academic progress, to improving student athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA SAVE project provides wraparound services for student athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.